It is heat check time, everybody, and I got my buddy Jonathan Hagler to join me yet again to talk about some Colts players who are overperforming or performing to the level we kind of expect. Just some guys that are playing some outstanding football. This is a bonus episode on a Saturday with Zach Hicks and Jonathan Hagler. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you, Colts fans, for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This is Zach Hicks, and I'm joined by a different guest today because, lately, guys, I have been in the middle of a big old move to a new house, so I've been a little inconsistent with some of my recording, and then Jake has been, I know his daughter's been a little sick recently, so it's just been a little inconsistent from us here on Locked On Colts. So we wanted to give you guys some bonus content. And I knew that the perfect guy for that was my buddy Jonathan Hagler. We're going to talk about some Colts players who are, some are kind of overperforming, some are performing to expectation, and just some guys who are balling out. We're going to have the heat check with Hag, that we did a couple weeks ago, and have some fun with it. So Hag, we got to talk about my guy in this first segment. This is a guy who 2 years ago I'm texting you all the time, being like, Isaiah Rodgers is a stud. I love this kid. I think he's got it. I think he's going to be really good. And then last year when we did our film stuff with Horseshoe Huddle, we saw a player kind of coming into his own, but then it's even gone to another level. I mean, I think he's had 165 coverage snaps this year. He's been targeted 10 times. He has given up 8 receptions for 56 yards, 2 pass breakups. This is the kid who teams are kind of taking notice of him. They're not throwing it his way. And honestly, I wouldn't either. I'd be scared to death to throw it at him.
Oh, yeah. No. Isaiah is like, it's fun being watching his growth because he was a guy that we saw play some, whether a guy got hurt, whether somebody got banged up. And we were saying, like, man, this may be one of those developmental guys that turns into something. He needs to be on the field more. And that's probably been the best part about it, is seeing that happen over the last few seasons and watching an elite athlete not only play and make plays, but do it at a high level and be technically sound at the same time. So that's one of the more enjoyable stories, especially since we've been talking a lot and covering the Colts. So I've always chimed in with Isaiah. I always see you tweet about him. I know y'all relationship has grown a lot, but it's warranted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's very warranted. His players said it. Now he's turning into a dude, and I love it for him.
Yep, and guys, talking a little bit about the frustration that I've had, and I don't know if Hag is shared in that frustration, but going this year, Brandon Faison to the Colts, that's Bradley's guy. Brandon Faison's getting all the snaps on the outside. Isaiah Rodgers kind of getting buried in the depth chart, but we've seen, the last 4 or 5 weeks, Isaiah Rodgers has kind of taken over as that starting corner. Now officially, he is listed as the other starting corner on the outside. So going forward, I think it is going to be Isaiah Rodgers on the outside there, but I did want to share with you guys just a really funny thing about this past game and kind of on the whole season is, Isaiah Rodgers is a guy that I've talked to a lot. I've interviewed him a couple times. So you guys know that I have a personal relationship with him, but I texted him the other day because I noticed that he kept playing inside leverage on Devontae Adams or whoever he was getting, inside leverage. And this is, the Colts run a very heavy cover 3 scheme, so he's going to have help to the inside. He's going to have, that robber safety or that mid-zone safety to the inside. Why would he be playing inside leverage? It makes no sense. But he texted me back saying that he trusts his technique and he trusts his ability against any receiver. That's Devontae Adams too. We're talking about, it doesn't matter. Isaiah Rodgers trusts it. I know it's a popular Gen Z slang, but he's just built different, man. That's a dude who's you gotta be built that way to be a corner in the NFL. He has. I knew it from the first time I talked to him. I was like, oh, he's that guy. You could tell when you talk to these corners, because when he was a rookie, I talked to him. Allen Robinson mossed him in the corner of the end zone, and I asked him about it after the year, and he said that's my favorite play of the whole season. And I was like, why is that your favorite? You had a pick in the playoffs. You had pass breakups. He was like, oh, because that's the one that humbled me. That's the one I got I get a hat made of it. Of that play.
Hey, look, man.
I don't know, man.
You have to be wired different, man. Like corner, like you hear people talk about it all the time. After quarterback, it's arguably the hardest position in football. Not only because you're playing backwards the majority of the time, the rules are against you, but you're going against not only you one of the best athletes on the planet. Consistently, you're going against some of the freakiest individuals that walk the planet, or some of the springiest, some of the fastest. If you're not a little bit crazy, you're gonna get ate up. And so I could definitely see that with Isaiah, because he's a freak. Don't get it twisted. But playing corner, there's times where you cover perfectly and there's nothing you can do about it. And no matter how good you think you are, there can be some 7th rounder undrafted guy dunk on you, and it's all on ESPN and all on Twitter, and everybody's like, man, how'd that happen? So I get it.
The thing with Isaiah too is just, there's fast guys. There's really fast guys. But then there's just those easy speed guys. Those easy speed where every single movement looks effortless, but faster than everybody. It looks like you're playing the video in fast forward.
Yeah.
And I think that comeback route against Devontae Adams was a perfect example from this past game against the Raiders, where the second he planted that foot, he and Devontae Adams were not moving at the same speed whatsoever. And Adams is a great player, one of the best receivers in all of football. Isaiah Rodgers' speed is different, man. It is so effortless.
It's fun to watch. Like those are the guys you like, the guys that break efficiently. How we look at receivers and say, oh, he separates great, but it's all his feet, right? It's feet, it's head fakes, it's movements. Cornerbacks that have great breaks is something that just makes me happy. And so when I see a guy run a route or run a comeback and still be able to close and run the comeback as if he's getting the ball, like Isaiah did, because he jumped it. If Derek Carr throws that ball a little bit later, it's a pick six to the house. And I know you're talking about how bad he won one, but he almost had it. And his raw ability, and it's just fun to watch because, like I said, a lot of freaky athletes play corner in the NFL. A lot of them never put it together, and Isaiah looks like he's putting it together.
Yeah, he's a playmaker. He's a guy with the mindset of a playmaker who's just getting better with his technique and getting better with his overplay. And I do think that Brad's scheme is really good for him. You have that cover three. You're having that where he can kind of just sit back a little bit. He's getting into those deep zones. He's kind of reading everything in front of him. I think that's great for him because he wants to come downhill and he wants to take away anything. So yeah, man, I think going forward, I think we're going to see some picks going forward. I think we are. I know turnovers are volatile unless we're talking about Shaquille Leonard at linebacker, but turnovers are volatile. But if they actually start throwing the ball his way, I don't see how he doesn't get a couple the rest of the season because
like you said,
he's right there.
10 targets. Like that's
10 targets.
That's not enough to even say good corners probably get targeted. Good corners get targeted 30 to 40 times a season, right? Or something along those lines. He's at 10. And I saw a couple pass breakups already. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so you're telling me if I got 10 targets and 3 of those or 4 of those are PBUs, okay, so that leaves me with 6, right? 6 balls. So whether 3 or 4 of those may be overthrown, and if you're lucky, those last 2 or 3 may be lobs and you had a chance to intercept them. So you're telling me out of the 10 targets, 4 possibly were turnover worthy. If that's even the case, this is theoretical right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't be upset about that. It's lonely when you're at the top, dog. Like people ain't gonna throw at you a lot. You know what I'm saying? Now, if they are throwing at you all the time, they're trying to tell you something. So
yeah, teams are scared. We'll see if that continues with him getting starter snaps going forward. But I know I wouldn't throw it. I mean, and they know they got Stephon Gilmore on the other side. I wouldn't throw Stephon Gilmore either. We're actually talking about in this next segment, but man. Isaiah Rodgers Sr., man. I know I hype about him all the time and I talk about him all the time, but this is a super, super talented young corner who's only getting better. And I think Colts fans, it reminds me of a couple years ago, and I kept yelling at everybody that Grover Stewart is a really good defensive tackle. He's going to be really good. And now we're seeing how great he is. I think it's going to be the same way with Isaiah Rodgers, where there's going to be one of these years where he sneaks up as a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro type guy. Like he has all the ability.
Those are the guys. Like I remember when I came up, because Cortland Finnegan played at he played at Sanford, right? And he was a late round pick, I believe, or something like that. And I met him at a football camp in 3rd grade, so I always kept up with him. But really, really good athlete. I actually worked out at one of the places he trained at, and I saw his records and stuff like that. And I was trying to beat a lot of them, beat his vert record and things like that, but I couldn't run with him. I mean, he could fly. Yeah. But those type of guys like Cortland Finnegan, like Isaiah Rodgers, the guys that are stupid athletic, right? They creep up and they develop, and then they turn into 10-year pros You know what I'm saying? You become fans of. So you have every right to sit there and watch the growth of Isaiah Rodgers and be happy about it because you were the one, beating the drum for him and yelling, hey, this guy can play. This guy can play. That's you. I'll attribute all that to you because I didn't see anybody else doing it. So
yeah. Just real quick before we end this segment here, Dane Brugler, one of the best draft minds in all of football. Like, he's amazing, does a lot of great work for The Athletic. I think he was like the second to last rated corner on Dane Brugler's draft guide a couple years ago in 2019. I think he was like cornerback 127th or something in that draft. So that shows how under the radar this kid is and how awesome he has developed in the NFL. But guys, next up, we're going to talk about someone who has all the records, has all the accolades, and has been playing amazing for the Colts. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Tommy John. Hate getting in Black Friday crowds, it's super comfortable. However, shopping Tommy John's Black Friday sale from your couch, that's super duper comfortable. Give the gift of brand new Tommy John underwear, loungewear, and pajamas. With over 18 million pairs sold, they've become a holiday tradition. 97% of women and men love getting a gift from Tommy John. That's why Tommy John doesn't have customers. They have fanatics. 30% off everything right now at Tommy John with code Locked On. So TommyJohn.com/Locked On. See the site for details. All right, let's talk about a guy who I know specifically for me, but probably for you as well. Just when we were coming up in like middle school, high school, this was the guy. Like when he started turning it on in New England, he was the guy. He was the guy that anyone who ever loved cornerback play or wanted to be a corner, this is who you're watching, and that's Stephon Gilmore, former Defensive Player of the Year, multiple-time All-Pro, and everything looks so easy for him right now.
Oh, yeah, he's clicking. It's fun to see because we saw him leave New England, go to Carolina, come to the Colts. So some people were kind of writing him off, I'm saying, rightfully so. That's usually what happens at the end of these guys' careers. Stephon Gilmore, like you said, been a fan of him forever. He was on that team that beat Alabama when Garcia had the game of his life, and Alshon Jeffrey made the winning catch. And he's out of Rock Hill, South Carolina, and he's been a dude forever. It's so good to see him get back into alcohol form. Understand that top end form, because you love seeing him match up against top guys. Because at the end of the day, that is Stephon Gilmore. It's like watching two heavyweights fight. I don't care if they're 48 years old, like Mike Tyson and Holyfield. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch just because of the name. But he's still playing at a high level, and it's great to see him do that. And I'm happy to see him do it because I am such a fan of his, and I've been a fan of his for a long time.
Yep. So let's talk about the final play of the Raiders game. I mean, we could talk about a couple different final plays of the game that Gilmore has made a huge influence for the Colts. But in three of the or I think it's now four of the Colts wins this year, he has made the final pass breakup or the final interception to change the game or win the game. But this one in particular came against Davante Adams. Like, Davante Adams is a dude. And, we always talk about this guy's a dude. This guy's legit. Like, Davante Adams is that guy. Like, he is a stud. And one-on-one, Stephon Gilmore fade route to decide the game, and Stephon Gilmore played that perfectly, absolutely perfect.
Oh yeah. No, he was patient. He was patient out of the line. Let Davante do it. The Colts were in a zero pressure. Ball's got to come out hot. If I'm Derek Carr, I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to throw it up to my guy since college. I'm going to throw it up to him. The only issue was it was Stephon Gilmore out there. It was Gilly Lock. You know what I'm saying? He was out there, and he, faced up, squeezed him out of bounds. It would have been an impossible catch to make. Not one that Davante Adams can't make, but one that I'm going to take my chances with. Stephon Gilmore right there. He's not a small corner. He's still got plenty of speed. Davante Adams never really threatened him. And I just love the way he played. It was one of the most simple plays that a cornerback can make, but plenty of times we see guys get stacked. We see guys panic. We see guys get pass interference calls on those plays. And Stephon Gilmore is the savvy, seasoned vet. He played it to a T, and game over, just like we've seen many times this year.
Yep, he's a phenomenal player. And I think Colts fans kind of knew that coming into the year. Like, we knew, Stephon Gilmore was going to be that for the Colts. And one thing I'm highlighting a lot in the preseason is, especially with Gus Bradley's scheme, but just about any defensive scheme, it is so important to have that lockdown corner. Mm-hmm. It is so vital because it helps your safeties, it helps your linebackers over the middle, it helps kind of everybody, having that guy where I don't have to worry about that side of the field, and Stephon Gilmore's kind of been that for the Colts.
Oh yeah, no, that's major. Like, playing safety my whole life, nothing was better. Nothing made me better or more productive as a safety than looking over there and saying, "Oh yeah, you got it. Like, you're on your own. I'm gonna help and run. I'm gonna help on this quick game. I'm gonna help guard this post a little bit more." Nothing helps your game more than having a guy you have confidence on out there on that island, whether it's cover 3, cover 2, cover 1, 0 man up. It doesn't matter. And just for him to be out there, I'm sure it gives that entire defense a boost, because I know I can look over there at times and be like, nah, Gil got it. And if he gets beat, he gets beat, but he got it.
Yeah. Yeah, you feel fine. Look, if a team throws the guy against Stephon Gilmore and he beats him, fine, it happens.
Yeah.
Like, you beat our best. I don't care. Like,
You take your
I think-
wounds, keep moving.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, especially in this scheme, we're talking about Gus Bradley. It's a very single high scheme. You're going to have that one safety drop down the box, and you're going to have the other safety over top. And this scheme is it's so painful to be a linebacker in coverage. It is so tough to be a linebacker in coverage because you have to match things vertical. You have to, you have to get proper depth and also attack underneath and attack behind. And if you have that safety that has to keep going over the top to one way or going over the top of the other, then you're being left on that island on a vertical route over the middle. Yeah. But when you have Stephon Gilmore, when you have Isaiah Rodgers out there, it just makes your defense so suffocating. And that's why we're seeing the Colts this year. This is a too high league right now. This is a too high league. Everything is too high. The Colts are running the Colts are running single high. The Colts are running single high almost every game, all game long. And they're having two corners who are either not getting targeted, or when they are getting targeted, they're getting pass breakups, and everything has to go over the middle of the field. And, we're seeing the Colts kind of being able to kind of suffocate that because they don't have to worry about the outside. It's just, it's great to watch in a predominantly too high league. The Colts are still succeeding with this single high defense.
Oh yeah. And when you force people to go across the middle, and if you have, like you said, two athletic corners, not just two good corners, two athletic corners that teams can't just run by, you force teams to go across the middle, those are dangerous throws. You miss or deflected, you get an interception here, you get a pass breakup here. Like, no, it's dangerous over there. You got to be on point. And that's something that I consistently see them do well. I feel like they have good athletes at backer, they have good athletes at corner, and like you said, they kind of funnel everything to the middle, and it's fun to watch them when they do it correctly. Because if you can do that and you can get turnovers, it becomes a headache. Because when the post is open, when the post is closed, in this defense, what I'm saying, that's your shot plays. What you gonna throw fades off? You know what I'm saying? When you don't give up the post, offenses are a lot more limited to, let me take this 5-yard out. Let me run this comeback now. Let me run this fade now. Okay, I may have to mesh here. So it is a place for it in this league, even though everybody's going more to like that too high shell look and, playing a lot more emphasis on the run like that. But it's fun to watch the Colts do what they do because of the personnel that they built, and especially together the last couple of years.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about this Colts defense before we get to an offense player with our last segment here is I think the Colts are allowing 196 yards passing per game, which I think is like the 6th lowest in all of football, despite having a pass rush. Yes, they got DeForest Buckner. Yes, Kwity Paye's been good, but it's still kind of middle of the league, a little below average. So without having a top-tier pass rush, they're still holding teams to low passing numbers, and I think that's a great testament to these two players that we've talked about today. But before we get to our final player, an offensive player that's been standing out for the Colts recently, I got to talk to you guys about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your #1 source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer to esports. We've got it all at BetOnline. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those on BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Hag, so you and I are big draft nerds, and I know a couple years ago, one of the biggest, it was kind of a polarizing player, but you could see the speed, you could see the upside. This was wide receiver Parris Campbell, out of Ohio State, the wide receiver factory. And he's had a rough go of it in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Big time injury after big time injury. This year, he's finally been healthy. And even though it took a few games after that to kind of get going, this is a guy where you could see that speed showing up every single game. And he's really developed as a short route runner, too. Like, he's getting open underneath for Matt Ryan.
Oh, yeah. And I was watching ESPN the other day, and they pulled up that stat. They were talking about it's the lowest average completion in forever, right? Passing yardage and all that good stuff. Well, a lot of that's attributed to, obviously, like we said, I would say it started when people realized you can put two safeties deep and stop the Chiefs. Because, the league was going for speed. And that's around the same time Parris and them came into the league. You had Parris, you had Curtis Samuels, you had all those fast guys, Scary Terry, all those guys come out of Ohio State. Well, Parris Campbell has elite speed. He's not just fast. You know what I'm saying? He has a very elite speed. And the best thing an elite runner can do is learn how to run short routes. Because everybody is thinking, oh, he's about to take the top off. So me, as a former DB, I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm about to get out of here, and I'll just tackle him later. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not getting burnt. And then my mom and my girl are looking at me like, dang, that's my I got to put my cap down. But he's out here running hitches. He's out here. He's selling the vertical routes. He's got a little bit of movement to his routes, which a lot of speed guys struggle with. And that was good to see because I hate seeing guys like Parris Campbell, who I'm a big fan of, consistently get that injury bug, and we get excited about him, and we never get to see them fully healthy. But it's awesome that he's out here making plays now, all types of plays. Like the slant to the house was, like you said, he looked like Deebo Samuels all of a sudden. But that was awesome to see because you got to see the full development of his game. And what year is it? Is it 4 now?
Year four.
Year 4 now. You get to see a healthier version of him who's developing, which is scary for the NFL and great for Parris.
Yeah, no, he's been on a tear the last couple of games that Matt Ryan has played. Even that one game with Sam Ehlinger against Washington, he had a really strong game. But yeah, that slant call, that's the one that I really want to talk about because that was what he was advertised as when the Colts drafted him. It was a guy where you can throw mesh to him, you can throw wide receiver screens, you can hand him the ball maybe in the backfield, and he's going to house it. And that's what he did at Ohio State. I mean, he did that constantly at Ohio State. I think his average depth of target in college was like 1 yard down the field. Like that's where think
about it. Like with that Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace to him. They destroyed college football. What do you have? 50 touchdowns or something close to that with that receiving core. And I remember watching that Michigan game. I remember watching the Michigan game, and I was like, it is death by mesh. Like, and them guys were just crossing and running and wheeling and doing this, and they were catching the ball, and they were just taking off, and there was nothing anybody can do about it. And that was so fun to watch. But that's what they did, and that's what he's good at.
Yep, and that's kind of what happened. These last couple games, and what really happened on that slant call was, it was just a quick hitter. It was just a little sticks call, and you got him in the slot with the slot corner playing, 8 yards off for whatever reason. I mean, the Colts were just literally doing death by paper cuts all game long against this Raiders defense, but they were still setting off 8 yards back on the final drive. But man, that play was Parris Campbell. That was what we were told Parris Campbell was going to be. And yes, it was some bad tackling. Yes, it was bad defense, but star players or really good players take advantage of bad defense. And that's what he did on that play.
Yeah, no, he takes away angles. That's the fun part about him. Like, if you can split, and I tell people, I was like, if you want to know if somebody's fast, I was like, you can run a fast time and you can say you run this. I want to see you split 2 defenders that have angles on you. If you can split, and if you've ever done it before, for the people out there listening, if you've ever been lucky enough to do it, it's like, oh, I didn't get tackled. And you're like, I am running because you're at maximum speed. And I feel like he was just shooting out, just gliding. Oh, I'm gone. And then what happens is, and that's where it gets weird because even the guys that had the angle on them that should have tackled him, the weird part about that is he's running. So all you're worried about is not getting burnt. Right. And you're like, okay, well, I don't want to run into my guy. And then what happens is you just both get embarrassed and you both miss the tackle because this guy's flying down the field at 22 miles per hour. So
no, it's like we always said with Isaiah Rodgers on the other side, it's easy speed. That's what it is. Effortless speed, being faster than the best athletes in the world, because these are NFL players. I think it was a Mick Robertson or whatever that he was running past that slot corner. I think a deep corner, it was Trayvon Moore from TCU. These are great athletes, great athletes. And Parris Campbell's pulling away with ease. I'm actually curious to see what Parris Campbell versus Isaiah Rodgers in a track meet would look like. That would be a fun one.
I'm sure you can put that out on Twitter tonight and get that started, and then I'm sure you'll get a text or two. I'm like, hey man, chill out.
Dude, Isaiah might, I don't know. That would be a go. I mean, because Isaiah's got like 4 pounds less on him, so he's a little lighter there that he can be flying. But again, talking some Parris Campbell before we close this thing out. Again, this is a player where we didn't get to see much of him at all the last couple of years. I wonder what the mindset to be able to work through that 4 times or whatever it was. I think 3 or 4 times, major injuries, to still be trusting your body on the football field is phenomenal. We see so many players where when they have a couple injuries, they get back on the field, and it's not like they can't do what they could do before. It's that they mentally can't do it anymore. It's just every injury, it's like covering up and falling down or just being afraid of contact. But he looks like Parris Campbell. Like this is 4 times major injuries. He looks like Parris Campbell.
His resilience. I mean, whoever he works with, I think it's a tribute to them. I think you have to give him credit as well, because the only way you bounce back from that and look the same, you may not feel the same, but if you look the same, that means you're doing something right. That means he's attacking rehab. He's a resilient athlete. And that means, I would give credit to his mental fortitude, because it's hard. I've seen guys crumble after one. So a lot of credit to him, to his process in general, whether that be the offseason. I'm sure he has a good circle around him. So I think, like I said, I want to give him his credit in that part, because that's not easy. Because, we get excited about him year after year, and then it's freak accidents. It's not even like crazy ones. It's like, sometimes you see guys land, you're like, dang, I know he's done. Like we watch him go, and we're like, did that just happen? No, he'll be back. He'll be back. No, he's done. Like that. Those break your heart a little bit.
Yeah, and it just breaks your heart that it's not like, oh, his a sore foot, he's out for the year or something. Like, it's not like that. It's like torn ACL, torn Achilles, like busted knee. Like it is major injuries for a speedster. And again, he just keeps bouncing back, man. He's resilient. I always say the best ability in the NFL is not speed. It's to be a cockroach. It's to be someone that can survive anything. Like, those are the guys, man. Those are the guys where you look up and you're like, oh man, that guy had a 12-year career. Oh man, Ashton Doolin is on year 4 with the Colts. Like it's just special team. It's just stuff like that.
Yeah, man. He's doing awesome, man. Like,
those are you just got to be a cockroach to stick in this league. And Parris Campbell is doing it from a different angle. He's a high draft pick, a guy with a lot of expectations, but he just keeps bouncing back from these injuries. And I really hope he can stay the rest of this year and he can put up 500, 600, 700 yards receiving, because he deserves it, man.
Awesome.
He has worked back hard enough. He deserves all this.
No doubt.
Yep. So, guys, I think that's all we have for today. If you guys are loving Jonathan Hagler jumping on the show and talking some players, man, make sure you leave it in the comment section. Tell him how much you love him, and we'll try to get him on for some more bonus episodes for you guys on these Saturdays. But that's it for everybody. Stay tuned for Sunday's game. After that game, we're going to talk about Locked On Colts. We're going to talk on Locked On Colts about what happened against the Eagles. So hopefully it's a dub for the Colts. But make sure you follow us on Twitter at ZachHicks2. Hag, where can they follow you on Twitter?
At John Hagler CR on Twitter. That's where I get all my shenanigans going and my gifs and things like that. And I am unbiased with my opinions about draft picks, about NFL teams, players. So at John Hagler CR.
Yeah, and Michael Penix Jr. is where you're going to see a lot of hype coming from Hag this offseason. That's his guy. And honestly, on the film, that is one darn good corner. So we'll have to have Hag on and talk.
Lefty, the gunslinging lefty at Washington. Make sure if you haven't watched him, go check him out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure a lot of people watch them. We're an Indiana-based podcast. I'm sure there's a lot of people. Hopefully they're watching Washington.
The Hoosiers.
Yep, exactly. Also, subscribe to this show on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast, guys. And thank you for making Locked On Colts your first listen of the day. For your next listen, check out Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you guys on game day.